My name is John Garcia.
And I am Steve Edwards, and we are
Weeding
Weeding Through the
through the
BS.
BS.
We are here to get down to the bottom stuff. Today, man, I am excited about our guest today, John. When we talk about weeding through the BS, I know Jayson has a long, right? I've met Jayson a couple times. I shared the shades with Jayson one time. So I've heard his story, but I know a lot has happened since the last time I've been in front of Jayson. So we're excited to hear this. But before we get started, always big shout out to our sponsors, Leadership Books. John, we're getting closer, buddy. My book's coming out. They
Awesome.
still coming. January it's coming, so we know your book is going to come shortly after. So excited about the book. So thank you, Leadership Books, and everything you guys are doing there with putting that out. Obviously, Premier Virtual and all the big news recently with what's going on with Premier Virtual. Thank you for what you guys do. Cindy over at O Media, Jayson at the Owl App. So let's get into it. Jayson, welcome to Weeding Through the BS. Tell us a little bit about, Jayson Waller. I got lots of questions today because it's been a while since I've heard you speak. So first, give the people out there a little bit of who Jayson is.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I'm excited. You guys got great energy. I love it. Sometimes you go on podcasts and you're like, dude, when's this end? What's the deal? I'm so bored.
Not here.
Holy shit. So at least you guys have energy and it's exciting. And congrats on the books. That's always exciting to get a book out there. But, I'm really a serial entrepreneur. I built 4 companies from the ground up, all 4 being worth over 10 million. One was worth $1 billion. We had 2 times valued at over $1 billion by Citibank. We were doing a reverse merger to take the company public. It was worth $1.05 billion. We were supposed to close that deal in July 2022. We had 2,400 employees. We just surpassed almost 700 million in revenue in 2021. We were in 17 states, 30 locations. NFL stadiums had solar in 5 of their stadiums from our company. I mean, all these things were going on. And then we had this catastrophe product liability issue with a company called Generac. They do generators, and they started to mess around in 2020 with solar batteries and with inverters and a Snap RS, which works like a ignition switch on panels. And so half our customer base, we ended up with 40,000 customers, 20,000 of them had Generac. And as we're chugging along, breaking all these records and A+ with the BBB, really making a movement in solar energy, allowing people to own their power, we all of a sudden, literally, it seemed like overnight, went from very little minor customer service issues that is normal with growth to almost 20,000 customer systems not producing what it's supposed to. Several thousand customers with the potential getting fires on their home because of this product liability issue. They should have done a national recall. We went from 200 complaints on the BBB in 8 years to 1,130 days. We went from 800 phone calls a month to 30,000 a month. All of these things just started piling on in late Q1, early Q2, 2022. And it was survival mode. It was, how do we mitigate that? And to talk about a little bit who I am, that company ended up closing. We fought the fight. We did everything we could. We sued Generac for $1 billion. We're out there in the face of allowing people to try to have class action lawsuits against them, which happened. And we pioneered the call for the national recall for the product, but we ended up losing everything. It cost me personally $400 million. I had to lay off 2,400 people. My kids and family were threatened, abused. We had death threats. I had the FBI show at my house, told me there's a death threat out there to kill me over this. I mean, it was crazy. It was chaos. The worst thing you can imagine. You're sticking your head in the sand. You're like, what happened here? We had this wonderful company doing wonderful things. And for like 90 days, I went into like a hellhole of, I just wanted to go to Wisconsin, beat the shit out of everybody at Generac. We were suing them. I was just angry. I mean, it was as mad and as angry as you can get. But I have 4 kids and I have 2 grandkids and I have a wife and they depend on me. And I had 2,400 employees that we couldn't win the battle. And I still had a handful of employees that wanted to do things with me to open up a new company. And so the 4th company I opened up, it's another home service company. I'm proud to announce we just had our year anniversary recently. And because our company, Pink Energy / Power Home, closed in September of last year. So immediately I got to work. Like, what can I do? I can't sit around. Lost $400 million. Got to provide. These people are dependent on me. My family's dependent on me. I want to build something great again. So we built a company that's doing about $2 million a month. and the company's growing. And then I'm getting into the water business for clean water made from the air. So I'm looking at being a partner in a business like that to really change the way we get drinking water. I do some coaching, I do some speaking. And then recently, Amazon selected us and reached out, and we're doing a reality TV show called the BamFam, which explains some of this chaotic story, but really goes into the depth of what it's like. You know, I'm this guy who can build a business and can motivate and can inspire, but then I go home and I got my wife who really runs stuff. And then I've got 3 daughters and a son, and I sit passenger to them. And how does that dynamic go? What does it mean for them to, you know, fly in first class or flying in private jets to they're bitching about flying coach? And they're like, really, Dad? And it's like, serious? So all this dynamic humor, reality, real life, struggle, emotions, sadness, happiness, you know, bonding together, fighting what's, you know, to survive in this life. They created this show. It comes out in December on Amazon Prime. Super excited about that, called the BamFam. So that's who I am.
All right.
That's it in a nutshell.
Go ahead, John.
I said, that's it in a nutshell. Wow.
Yeah, I can't give a 60-second elevator pitch. It's like 4 minutes. I have to hold the doors for a minute and say, I'm not done. Hold on. So I'm that guy.
Well, most people would just still be on the ledge, and you already 1 year into your new business, man. Man, I'm gonna give you.
Hey, I appreciate that.
That's amazing, man.
It was hard, and I have good mentors. And then they told me, like, look, you have a gift of building sales teams. You have a gift to do digital marketing. Regardless of what because the media painted me as the bad guy, right? Generac kind of didn't take responsibility at the beginning. They're starting to take more responsibility now. There's 7 class action lawsuits against them. 7, 4 in states we weren't even in. 6 other companies closed because of the same issue. None of them the size of us. We were Generac's largest by far. And there's a securities fraud lawsuit again. So the truth is starting to come out, but it's kind of like the tobacco industry or some of these, big, giant billion-dollar corporations that don't care. They don't care what other companies close. They don't care what happens to consumers. They don't care what happens to the employees. That kind of happened in this situation. And I was the scapegoat because I was very flamboyant, because I was very polarizing. I bleached hair. I drove nice cars. I mean, people forget I had 2 other companies before this. I did real estate before this. I had a best-selling book. So of course I like nice stuff. I grew up with nothing. I like to have nice shit. I'm not going to apologize for being successful, but that created a lot of hatred, a lot of anger as it closed, and the media kind of ran with it. And we're like, oh, this guy, closed the company because they didn't understand the dynamic of the lawsuit, what was going on as we were still putting pieces together. And then, we actually had the company turned around and we started offering a different product, but we ran out of cash. So when the sales started to go up, the BBB gave us our A+ back. And we're like, oh my gosh, Generac's to blame. I'm glad you're suing them. All these things were happening, but we ran out of cash because we went from 50 million a month revenue to 18 to 22 to 27 to 31. Got it back up to 50, but it was too late.
Wow. It's always tough once you start losing that cash. Like, how do you get back up? So obviously you are right. You've weeded through a lot of BS. What do you think, again, with your story, why do you think a lot of people would have jumped off the ledge, right? With a lot less. What do you think it is that's inside of you that makes you different, that you're not saying, hey, I'm going to take the easy ride out? Right? Because that's what a lot of people would do, unfortunately, with what happened to you.
So I say this. My parents didn't graduate high school. I didn't graduate high school. Neither did my wife. She got a GED. And we had a kid in our teens, right? I would say I watched my mom and dad struggle their whole lives being blue collar, and there's nothing wrong with that. And he had an opportunity to jump on a unicorn and run his own business with a friend of his who had, back when movie stores were cool, before Blockbuster and they were popping, his buddy had 37 video stores and offered him to open a sub shop and my mom a bakery. My mom worked at a cake place, a grocery store decorating cakes. And I remember listening to them have that conversation, and my dad was scared. He was scared to lose. He played to not lose. He didn't play to win. He kept his company with AT&T, which shipped him to North Carolina, which worked out. I met my wife. And we ended up living in a trailer park, which is fine, but I didn't know that I would get made fun of at school. And he would have to deliver papers at night, and I'd have to help him. I watched them go through this. And my childhood I love my parents, but they were somewhat abusive. I mean, today's world would be abusive. Back then, it seemed normal. You get hit with something, it's no big deal. Just shake it off, right? But now it's like, oh my God. I'm like, I tell my kids, I say, you're lucky you just got spanked with a belt, because I got the shit beat out of me. Right. But they instilled hard work in me, but I saw them struggle. And I always told myself, if I had an opportunity to take a chance to jump on the unicorn. I was going to play to win. I wasn't going to play to not lose. And I watched my dad to play to not lose. And a lot of people in life play not to lose. And then that kind of changed my mindset. And so I was one of these top salespeople making money. I probably shouldn't have been making it 17, 18 years old at big companies like First Union Bank and AT&T, making over 100 grand a year, under 20 years old back in the late 90s. I just had a gift that I was really good. I was motivated. I was inspiring. I had the gift of gab. You know, I was passionate about what I believed in. And I started to jump on that, but I had my wife's family judging me because I came from nothing. They also looked down on me. They also had this persona of like, oh, you're white trash. You come from a trailer park. And so I always had this chip on my shoulder. And then when you start to win, you win at your first business, and then you're winning at your second business, and then you're crushing it. I never imagined having $1 billion company. I always stayed in the moment like, all right, well, we're doing 200,000 a month. Let's see if we can get to 500,000. Well, now we're doing 500,000. Let's get to 1 million. Let's get to 5 million. Let's get to 10. Let's get all of a sudden it was like, turn around, you're like, wow, I got $1 billion company, 2,400 employees. This is nuts, right? But when you set your goals and they're obtainable goals and they're not too high and you get to that moment, I won't say I felt invincible, but you get to a point where you're not used to losing. So when I lost, I was fucking devastated. I've never felt depression in my life. I was depressed, but I had a son looking at me. I had daughters looking at me. I had a wife looking at me. I had 2 grandkids looking at me. Like, what do we do now? None of them work. We lost so much. We had to start over, sold a house, it was like a nightmare. And my son saw me. I'd have to put on the smile and get out there and work my ass off and figure things out. And because it's like, you know, if you're on a plane and your kids are scared and you're fucking scared. I mean, I don't get scared on planes, but I'm giving an example. You don't tell your kids I'm fucking scared because they're more scared. So when your family's looking at you and they're like, what the fuck are you going to do? You're scared shitless. Like the little boy comes back like, what do I do? What do I do? But you can't be that way. You got to be a leader. Real leaders lead. They don't show emotion when you have to lead. They don't create chaos with fear. So I just had to go grind. And my son told his school, like, they were like, hey, who's your idol? Who do you look up to most? And he's like, my dad. With all this bad stuff on TV, which kids were making fun of him and all these things that he had to deal with. He's like, my dad's out there working, has a smile every day, trying to build a new company. So that is more important than where you go. And that's what I realized. How big you get in life and where you go is great. But what's better is the comeback. The setback's the story, but the comeback to get there and lose it all. It's like, shit, I don't want to build $1 billion company. I want to build 5. Right. And so I've got 2 companies right now building. One's doing really well and the other one get ready to build. I'm just going to do all these different things, help other people do that. And it gave me more purpose. And it also brought me back closer to my family, because there's nothing like being in a world where you're fighting for survival to bring bond with your family. Like, it's just different. And so I hate that it happened, but things happen for a reason. And it's united my family more. And now they've got the opportunity with this TV show. And my family's pretty cool and chaotic. So they get an opportunity to shine and not just be under me.
Yeah, I watched the preview of it, so it's exciting. I'm ready to watch this. Right, I'm not a huge reality show fan, but this one I'm gonna watch. Right, 1, because I know you, but 2, I think it's gonna be interesting to see, because, you know, I always look at, you know, I've had a lot of good mentors around me, but I also had a lot of shit mentors, but they were actually good mentors because I learned what not to do. And
that's true.
You know,
that's just as important.
You know, you got to learn what to do, what not to do in life. You know, I didn't come, you know, people have heard my story is I didn't come with a silver spoon in my mouth. I didn't have AC growing up, right? Like, we came from the poor side of Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, that was there. And I worked, and my mom always said I had a champagne taste on a water budget. And, you know, I wanted to always go out. I went to the military because I couldn't get into college. I was not that guy. I didn't have anything, you know, and I had to make it out there. And I love, like, hearing that you're talking about family, right? Showing your family. I got 2 young kids too. So, like, I'm out there showing them what to do. I'm like, you guys want to go out? Like, they're like, Dad, why do you work so hard? I go, do you like the life you have? Yes. Why do I have to go away to a conference? I don't love to travel to go away from conference and being away from my family for a week or 2, but they now know when I go, why do I go? Because I need to make money. And you need to be out there because money, it costs money to live in this world, right? I don't care if you're living on a budget or not, it still costs money to live. And if you can teach, I'm trying to teach my kids at a very early age, you know, what money is, because a lot of people out there don't.
Yeah, and Steve,
Yeah.
you're right. I think the number one thing that I coach people is they're like, I mean, like it is a lot of work to run a billion-dollar company, 2,400 employees,
Yeah.
but it's the same amount of work of running a 5-man company. It's all relative in the work and the kind of work you're putting in, and people don't realize that. And then secondly, when you get larger and you are able to build assets and people around you to manage things, you get more time at home. People think that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Because I was
That's
pitching to
BS.
Goldman Sachs. I was pitching to Tesla. We were getting offers from everybody. We had 54 offers to buy our company. And that's bullshit. You're just as busy, if not busier. But I always talk about moments and memories. And I tell my kids, I'm not that dad that gets home at 5, pops his feet on the fucking table, watches TV and doesn't talk to his kids. I'm the dad that gets home at 7, coaches my son at football till 9, comes home, kisses all the daughters, prays with them, has long drives with them going to their ball games. And I make moments and memories matter. Make them all come downstairs and play a card game. Make them all come downstairs and go to the pool. Like those moments and memories matter. It's not how many hours you spend with them. It's the impact and what you're doing with them. And so I always tell people, because they're like, I got to be home. I said, that's bullshit. You don't. You got to create wealth. You got to do things for your family. You got to set them up where they can grow out of your, get out of your shade and be able to blossom themselves. And if you can give them an opportunity to do that and you're providing for them, then make those moments matter. Don't go home and just go straight to bed. And look, I fight with my wife sometimes because if I only got 2 hours or 3 hours a night that I'm available, I'm giving half of it to the kids. So she's fighting for it, but it's like, look, we'll go on trips, we'll make up for it. And so it's all about moments and memories to me. And I think people get confused. And I think that's where they make an excuse to not be successful. If I got to be home with my family. Listen, the moments and memories you make with your family are more important than the time with your family. I don't care what anybody says.
That's so true. My wife and I talk about that, right? It's creating memories. What is it going to be? Like tonight, prime example. We have a kind of a thing in our house where my son, who's in 3rd grade, is going through, he has a homework every night now. I don't remember having that much homework in 3rd grade. And some of the math I had to Google. I'm not going to lie, right? They taught it different way. And she used to be a teacher. So he's got homework. My kindergartner doesn't have homework. So we come in and I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. And we started this school year. We just started it. Is I will take my youngest son out and we do whatever he wants to do. If he wants to go fishing, tonight he wants to go out. He's like, Dad, I need to practice shooting the BB gun. I need to be better at shooting the BB gun, right? So it's I don't care what it is, whatever you want. The other one does homework with Mom. Then we switch, right? So we're creating those one-on-one times. So it's not just sitting there on YouTube, sitting there on your iPad and watch that. What kind of memories do we have? But like this morning when I left, because last night, unfortunately, something came up and I said, hey, right, we got trees delivered. We had to do this tomorrow night. So this morning I saw him. He's out there with the backstop that we have. He's out there taping up all of the targets. He goes, Dad, I'm getting ready for tonight, because this is what we're going to do, right? It's creating those memories like you talk about. Moments and memories to me are so important. And
They are.
I believe so many people aren't doing that, right? We talk about that with John. John, you said, Jayson, you said playing games. John posts on Facebook all the time, right? John created a game. He has this. John is with his son, created a game and is always doing those memories. So
That's awesome.
love when you talk about that. I'm going to kind of go off subject here just a little bit. You Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year. Is that one of your top moments in life? As a successful entrepreneur that's built $1 billion business, so many of that. One, how did you get involved with that? And what did that mean for you to kind of win that award?
So you have to be nominated. There's pay to play awards that I think every entrepreneur, I mean, I don't care what anybody tells you, you should still do them, right? There's some out there that are pay to play. That's not one of them. And people that win a lot of awards, they know what's legit and what's not. But for credibility standpoint, to build your brand, to build your company, you need to be applying on all the pay to plays and the legit ones. It's just a fact, right? So like if Power Home had 80 awards, half were pay to play, half were nominated and won. But it was important because it builds that credibility. And especially for your executive team, they have awards and it makes them feel good and they're proud of it and they hang it in their office. And, all my executives, we applied and nominated all of them for all kinds of awards. It wasn't about me, but on the EY, I don't know who nominated me to this day, but I went in there and I was so nervous and I didn't even know it was a big deal. True story. and we're having game night. We used to have adult game night where all these couples in Michigan, I lived in Birmingham, Michigan for about 3 years. All these couples, couple of them are football players, Matt Prater, Stafford, different people come over to the house, and we'd have this crazy adult game night, which is like inappropriate charades. And Brian, who now works for me and moved to North Carolina, worked for EY for a long time. I knew he was a tax lawyer or something. And he goes to me, because I wasn't even going to go to this thing, like nominated for an award, and they got this speaking event, and you're going to see if they're going to be a finalist or whatever. And he says to me, it's the week before, hey man, are you excited about your speech next week for the EY award? And I go, I'm not even going. He's like, you're not going? I'm like, no. He's like, dude, you understand how big it is? I had no idea. He goes, I'm like, holy shit. So then I'm messaging Roger. I'm like, dude, I need to know who's going. I need to know all this stuff about him. Oh my gosh, I got to figure this out. So I fly into Charlotte. It's actually in Charlotte for the Southeast for that round. Then we go to Atlanta. And I go in there and I'm like, I got to be different than all these people. So I was trying to figure out and find my way. So I'm in there. We're at this gathering, this, eating, snacks and drinking wine and stuff the night before, where you can meet all the other people you're going against and all the judges, which are previous winners, by the way. And so you're mingling with these people. And Chevy Arnold, who actually is over all of this, says to me, hey, what's your name? And I said, Jayson Waller. We're watching. This is when the guy was drafted, it starts with a Z, or in basketball, to the Memphis Grizzlies or somebody. He was from Duke, started with a Z, real big, crazy dude.
That's the guy he gets hurt all the time, right?
Hurt all the time, massive dude.
Yeah.
Zion?
And I go,
Zion Williamson.
Zion Williams. I go, oh, he might go back to college. He doesn't want to play for that team. She goes, is that where you went to college? And I said, oh, no, ma'am, I didn't go to college. And she goes, you're the one. I said, the one what? She said, you're the only one that we've ever had come this far nominated that didn't go to college. And I go, so then a light bulb went off, and I go, I knew I had to double down and make that an emphasis on my speech the next day when I was getting interviewed. So I went in there and crushed it. They're like, tell us why you should win. And you meet with all these judges. And I'm like, here's why. Because I bootstrapped my business. I built it from the ground up. It's my third company. I didn't go to college. I had to earn, like, I did all the things. When I walked out of there, and this doesn't happen a lot in life, you guys know this. Sometimes you walk out of place, you're like, shit, I should have brought that up. I should have said that. That happens 95% of the time. But 5% of the time, you walk out and go, there's nothing I could have done different. That was one of those moments. My boy Raj called me and he's like, how'd it go? I said, dude, I dropped the damn mic. There's nothing else I could have done. If I don't win, I don't know what's wrong. And I ended up winning. And it was big to me because it was something that I accomplished, that I earned, that I had to, like, that I didn't take serious, that I jumped in, I was able to accomplish it. And it gives you, it's very prestigious, and it puts you in an alumni that's very important. And to me, it's a big deal. And so that, my roundtable with Trump, and being in the locker room with Michigan and Jim Harbaugh when we beat Ohio State and Aiden Hutchinson 2 years ago, those are my top 3 moments, besides having kids and grandkids and marriage.
Okay, I was gonna say, what are the other top moments? But
the roundtable with Trump was legit. That was a big deal. Like 14 minutes we talked about.
Tell us a little bit about that. How did that come about? What was that? Right, because he's such a polarizing figure, right? As a whole, right?
He's a big man too, by the way. He's a big man. Yeah. You don't realize how big he is. So you're like looking at him
or hate that man, right? There's not much in between, So
I think I'm in between. My wife and daughter hate this because, like, I have 2 kids and my wife that are very far right. Okay. Then I have 1 kid that's left center. Then I have 1 kid that's right center, and I'm right center. And I'm not ashamed. I don't run a billion-dollar companies go public. I talk politics, aliens. I talk all this shit all the time now. I don't care. So Mickey Mouse could probably run Republican. I'd probably vote for them unless it was a really awesome person running left. But I'm not far right. Like, I don't care who marries who. I don't care about marijuana. I don't care about any of that stuff. But when it comes to, fiscal or money or business, I care about the right side. When it comes to human life, I have my own opinions, right? Yeah. And I don't get mad at other people's opinions. Like my youngest daughter, who's a little bit left, I love that she's different. I'm like, dude, that's so awesome that you have your own mind and you fight for the things you believe in and you argue with us. I love it. But I lived in a neighborhood where Trump's son, Eric Trump, ran here in North Carolina. And so there were 2 times. So 2018, right after he's elected. No, he's elected in 16. So it's 2017. He's doing his victory tour. We get invited to Mar-a-Lago. And I'm like, holy shit, we're going to Mar-a-Lago? Like, Like, and he's supposed to say Power Home Solar because we just switched to American made panels and we're doubling down. I'm like, this is so great. It's like a $25,000 plate. We're going in for free. So me and my boy Kevin fly in. I'm such a schmuck. I go in there. I'm like, got my camera phone on. I'm filming things. I'm like, this is fantastic. Talking to all these people. I'm like, this is so cool. And I say this is important for the story so people understand. I meet these two guys with turbans from Pennsylvania. I don't remember the names. Great guys. And they're like, tell me, dude, Trump is the savior. He's like the next coming. He's this, he's that. Like, they're obsessed with this guy. They're like, God sent this guy to be the president of the United States. I'm like, all right, well, if you say so. Like, I like him. Like, I definitely like his business aspect. I mean, he's a little mouthy. He's a little narcissist, but hey, I like him. So we get in there and we're 2 rows away and I could see him. I mean, he didn't notice me. It was probably like 80 people in there. And I had my phone like this. Ding. And I'm filming this thing Facebook Live. It's a private event. I don't know. True story. So I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for him to say Power Home Solar. Yes, this is going to be great. And he's going into China and their tariffs and all of these things. And what about solar panels and metal? And then he looks at these like, and then, you know, India's doing these things. And then he looks at these guys with the turban. This is a true story. And he goes, are you guys from India? And they go, no, we're from Pennsylvania. And he goes, well, let me tell you about the India prime minister. It's true. Look, he's not racist. He's inconsiderate. There's a difference. He's just, you know, he's just old. He's not racist at all. Like, trust me. But he just doesn't fucking know. So he asked them and he's like, hey, are you from India? They're like, no, we're from Pennsylvania. And he goes, well, imagine this. He said, the India prime minister is trying to be prime minister for life. Can you imagine if I said Trump wants to be president for life? Like, that would be wrong. So we got to stop this. So anyways, never says our name, fucking gets off course, loses his shit. I'm like, all right, at least we're here. It doesn't matter. I get off. We're done. Later on that night, true story, I get a message from somebody at NBC. We would like permission to use your video. I'm like, oh shit, no, delete my video, delete the message. I'm telling my wife, this is freaking crazy. It's a true story. Oh. Later on that next morning, and I got to fly to Vegas that next day, or I call it Nevada. It sounds more appropriate. Vegas, Nevada, however you want to call it. Got to fly to Nevada. Later on that next day, all over the news, President Trump, they have a clip. They're not showing the video, the sound. Maybe someone else recorded. There's 80 people there. President Trump wants to be president for life. That's not what the motherfucker said. He said, what if? But they took that clip, they ran with it, and it was all over the fucking media. And I'm going, oh my gosh, is this my fault? I feel so guilty. Me and my wife are fighting about something. Me and my business partner get on a plane. I'm flying to Vegas and we're fighting horribly bad. Like, just cats and dogs arguing. I don't do drugs. Okay. And my business partner's like, I got an edible. You want one? I'm like, fuck it. I'm on my way to Nevada. Right. I think I fucked up Trump's world. My wife is being an asshole. You know what? Give me a fucking edible. True story. So I take an edible. We're flying along.
Oh man.
All of a sudden we're over Albuquerque and we're sitting, I always sit in the same seats. Like, you go into the plane, first row, I'm on the walkway and he's at the window. So I'm always right there. That's where I sit. All you hear is a thump and you smell smoke. And I go, what the fuck? And the stewardess is like freaking out. It's a young stewardess and she's talking to the older stewardess and they're like whining. I go, hey, is there something wrong? And she goes, sir, hold on. And she gets on the phone and she goes, okay. And she starts crying and she hangs up the phone. And I go, hey, what the fuck is going on? And she goes, sir, you need to stop. So then she gets on the thing and she goes, prepare for crash landing. What the fuck? And by the way, this isn't because I'm high, but I'm telling you, this is exactly what happened. Man, but it made it worse that I'm high. Yeah. So I'm like, a fucking crash landed. You hear screaming. People are fucking freaking out. You smell smoke. There's people screaming. I'm like, are you serious? We start descending very fast. Felt like it took 2 years. You know, if you're high, and I don't ever get high, I've been high like 4 times in my life. That's why I don't ever do this shit. I'm the one that ruins it for everybody. It felt like the time was going so slow. Something is wrong. Holy shit. It's going down. The pilot comes on, prepare for crash landing. I'm like, these motherfuckers said crash landing twice. We're texting our wives. They're telling us to pull out the card. We're having to hold down to the things at the bottom to the chair. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm texting my wife. I'm so sorry for being an asshole. I'm so sorry this. I'm such a dick. I love you. She's like, what's going on? I'm like, so she's getting my dad. They're calling fucking TSA and they're calling the FCC. Like, everyone's freaking out, right? What's going on with this plane? My buddy looks at me. He's like tearing up. We're both like in tears. He's like, get right with God. He goes, let me ask you something. You think this has anything to do with you filming Trump? Swear to God, that's what he asked me. And I go, for like 2 seconds, I was like,
Oh shit.
this isn't Clinton. That's not it. Fuck you. Right. Anyways, we're on our way down. The landing gear comes out. You hear clapping. He comes on and says, we're going to land. It's going to be okay. There's going to be fire trucks out there. Just get off the plane. It's land in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We get off the plane. Everyone can't breathe. Everyone's screaming and crying. They're freaking out. Turns out a belt caught on fire in the thing and snapped. And there was smoke in the cockpit. So we landed the plane. They were worried the landing gear wouldn't come out. So we have to stay at a hotel. We're freaked out. We're all over social media like, oh my God, we almost died. This is freaky. It made it worse that I was high. I swore I'd never do weed again because I don't even do it much. I think I've done it like 5 times in my life. I ain't touched it since. I'm like, that shit's crazy. It made it worse. We go to Nevada, et cetera, et cetera. So then 3 years go by. Business is exploding, and I'm a huge contributor, and I know Ronna McDaniel from the RNC chair. And she reaches out and goes, would you like to come to meet Trump at a round table? There'll be about 20 people there. He's doing all the tours. You know, he was doing his rallies because it was during election. This was September 2020, right before he got COVID. And she's like, yeah, come meet us in DC. So I'm like, hell yeah. So I fly into DC, and when I land, I'm sick as a dog. Like, I feel like I got a fever. My nose is running. I'm sweating. I can feel it on my neck. I'm like, fuck, I might have COVID. Like, something's wrong. I'm freaking out. I call my wife. I'm like, what can I do? She's like, drink as much water as you can and take like Sudafed every like 4 hours. So I'm up all drinking water, Sudafed, water, Sudafed. I get up in the morning. I feel about 60% better, but I still feel a little like shit. I'm like, fuck, I'm supposed to meet Trump tonight. This is horrible. You got to go in and get tested for COVID. I'm freaking out. I'm in my suit and shit. You know, it's 2 hours before he shows up. I go get tested. I'm clear. Now, we all know those tests don't work, but I have no COVID. I'm like, this is great. They take your phone, they take everything and put it in a compartment, and you walk in.
They didn't want to test you again.
They don't want to test me again.
Look live.
Yeah. Well, and look, they only test everyone once, but the point is they take everything. You're not allowed to have your phone, not allowed to have anything when you go in there. We're waiting hours. He's 2.5 hours late.
Oh,
he finally shows up, and they're like, Ronna comes up to me and she goes, listen, Jayson, he's only going to be able to answer probably like 5 questions. So you might not get to ask a question. I'm sorry. But I said, oh, don't worry about me. I'm going to ask a question. She's like, well, I said, no. Trust me. She's like, okay. So then we have to get in line and get pictures. Everybody's way far away. My assholeness gets really close. They start yelling. I get a picture really close. Trump's like, it's fine. Like, hell yeah. Okay. Fast forward. We go into the room, we sit down. They've got our name on there, and they've got the little Putin microphones. You know what I'm talking about? Little Putin microphones at the table. Like, hey, they've got those in there. And he comes in and we're clapping, and he sits down and he says verbatim, okay, there's no media in here. You can say whatever the fuck you want to. It's exactly what the president of the United States says. And I'm just like, holy shit, yeah. The president just said, fuck.
Yeah.
So he starts laughing and he goes, all right, who's first? And the guy next to me is like, Mr. President, I'm in the hospitality business and my hotels are struggling. He goes, what state are you in? He goes, Oklahoma and Texas. He goes, do you think we're going to win Oklahoma and Texas? And he's like, yeah, I think so. He's like, all right, well, what's going on? He said, well, with COVID, I can't get people to stay in the hotels. I'm losing my money. He goes, why isn't the bank doing a reverse mortgage work with you on this? He goes, I don't know. He goes, hold on, Mark. So he tells Mark Meadows to stand up. Go over here. Give him your number. Call this bank right now. He starts going down this list of banks. He's giving this guy names and numbers of people at banks to deal with and saying, you tell him I said so. Mark takes this guy outside. I'm like, holy shit. Most politicians just blow you off. So then I go, Mr. Trump. And he's like, yes. I go, Jayson Waller, Power Home Solar. He goes, solar. I said, yeah. He goes, American solar. I said, actually, yes. And he goes, do you like that I put the tariffs on China? And I said, yeah, I did. He goes, in case anybody doesn't know, I put tariffs on China. And now we've got all these companies making solar panels in the US. How many are there now? I said, I think 11. How many were there when I first did it? 1. Yeah. See, so he's like tooting his own horn, right? I'm like, well, great. And he goes, well, what are you here for? And I said, he goes, well, what state are you in? I said, well, I live in Michigan. We're going to win Michigan? I said, yeah. And he goes, okay. And he said, what other states? I said, North Carolina. He said, do you think we're going to win those? I said, I do. He goes, okay, well, what can I help you with? And I said, my problem is Democrats and Republicans make solar political. He goes, okay. And I said, I don't know if you're aware of this, but 68% of our buyers are Republican. They're your voters. He said, I didn't know that. I said, absolutely. He goes, well, why do you think that is? I said, well, because Democrats talk about saving the planet and saving the world. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I didn't go to college. So I don't know about any of that stuff. But what I know is solar makes sense. People can save money. People can get tax credits. People can be, better their lives. They got farms. They want to be able to create their own power and they want some energy independence. Those are your voters. And he goes, okay. And he's like, tell Mark, Ronna, make sure you get that information. And he goes, well, what's the issue? And I said, well, The issue is when it comes to climate change, the Democrats talk about climate change. You guys run from it, and you create this line right in the middle of the solar renewable energy. I don't know if you're aware of this, but the last 2 years, the number one job growth in this country is renewable energy. He goes, no, I'm aware. And I said, okay, well, number two is this isn't a Democrat thing or a Republican thing. It's an American thing. It creates energy independence. We don't have to, depend on foreign countries. You can still do your drilling because you still got other things going on, but we have to be able to do this. He goes, I would agree. He's like, I love solar. I love American solar. I hate China solar. And he called it China, not Chinese. I hate China solar and I hate wind. And I go, okay. And he brought that up in the second debate. And this was right before the second debate. So he's like, all right, get the information. Let's see if we can try to change the narrative of that. I said, great. So then he goes to this other lady. And I'll tell you this before we wrap that part up. This is important. She says to him, I'm from Alaska and I've got my senator here. And he's like, hey, and she's like, me and my fiance own a rail station. We're trying to get a permit to run railroad from Alaska into Canada down so we can quit shipping things down through the ocean. We're losing millions of dollars a year and this can create thousands of jobs. And he's like, well, why can't you get the permit? She said, well, because it keeps getting denied at your office. He goes, well, is this private or is this government? She said, it's private, but it still gets denied. And he's like, Mark, why would it get denied? So then Mark's explaining some things to him. He goes, okay. And he goes, so he goes to Senator, how many jobs will this really add? He said, probably 1,000, 1,500. So then he goes to the lady, he goes, and you really think that this can save people money and businesses money? She said, yeah. And he goes, you tell your fiance you did a good thing. I'm going to get that permit for you. True story. The next day, all over the news, Trump approves permit for railroad to go into Canada. That's the Trump story I got.
Great.
That's a great story right there. There's a lot to that. So
except for almost losing your life, though. That was pretty scary.
Almost getting a little scared. I hope my wife doesn't watch this video because she's already scared of flying. And
so's my wife.
So yeah, I deal with that. So tell us. So a lot of people know, right? When if something really good happens with Premier Virtual and I happen to not be here anymore, right? There's a TV show in my future, right? It's already kind of ready to go. How did you get the BamFam show? Did you have to put in for it?
So everyone asks me that, right? And no, I didn't. What happened was I have a contact in LA where I share the same attorney of the guys who executive produced the show called Bar Rehab. Everybody knows that show, right?
Yeah.
And so I met with those guys last October when the company went bankrupt, and I was in LA. And they were like, dude, you need to be on TV. Like, we've seen your podcast. I'm like, really? They're like, we should do a show where you coach, since you're wanting to do coaching, and help rehab these companies. Like, that's a great idea. Well, I was talking to the family with all the turmoil going on. We thought it was best that we pause everything. Fast forward about 4 or 5 months, I get a business off the ground. I'm doing some coaching. I get reached out again by another producer who knows them. And we have the same conversation. He's like, yeah, I know Hans and John, et cetera, et cetera. And they go, well, let's start this. Let's create, some kind of coaching business show. And, we'll film you. We'll send videographers out. We'll film you going to different companies. We'll film you going to different podcasts. And we'll have a little piece of the family. I said, great. So they came down here. They followed me to Nevada to go look at a company. They followed me to Ohio to go coach a company. They followed me to go do a podcast in Utah and California. And all of these things, and they're putting together. Well, then they want to get some family footage. And at that point, they go, holy shit, we need to put your family on TV and put you on the back door. Wow. And I'm like, that works for me. And then I started, and I'm a marketing guy. So I go, well, that makes more sense because when you have a business show, you only appeal to business people. But if you have a reality show that has business in it, think of Duck Dynasty, right? All of a sudden, you got a lot of people watching it. Like, how the fuck did this asshole make this much? How did this guy build this business? How did he get to do that? Why is he driving this? What is he goes home and he doesn't run shit. His balls are at the whoa. Like, that kind of reality, real life stuff makes it real, where people can get the knowledge of running a company, being a badass at business, failing, struggling, how you overcome it, dealing with family problems, dealing with drama, dealing with bullying, dealing with all this shit with your kids, dealing with your wife, dealing with them trying to find their way. Like, everything that people deal with, but they're scared to show. My kids are old enough now they can handle something like this. Yeah. So I was like, fuck it, I'm all in. Now, 2 of the kids don't want to do it, and they're limited. Like, they're like, I ain't getting on camera. They fight it, right? Because they flew in, they filmed us in Turks. They filmed us here for like 2 months on and off. Like, we did a shit ton of filming. And so they've got 3 episodes. They have enough content to make 8. They have 3 episodes approved and ready for Amazon. They're finishing the episodes, and then we'll have a real trailer. What you saw is just a preview. It's not the real trailer, but we're talking to like Discovery. We're talking to crackle about a season 2 or an extended season 1. But that's how it came about. And so the producers on this brought me in because Cindy knows people, and she's like, look, all these people are trying to get in there to get shows. Well, this guy with Amazon now became a good buddy of mine, and he's like, look, if you know other people and they got great content, they can't just be Joe Schmo. They've got to have somewhat of a following, because like I'm not Sylvester Stallone, and I don't have fucking millions and millions of followers. I have like 2 million, right? So you go to like North Dakota, they don't know who the fuck I am. You go to California, they don't know who the fuck I am, and that's okay. But you got to be relevant, and you got to have something that you can bring to the table. You got to have some kind of following, and then it's got to be so exciting and entertaining that it makes sense. Well, ours is all real, which is just chaos, because I'm not even the best person on there. My 24-year-old and her daughter are probably the best characters on the show by far. Like, it's not even close. They're funny, dry humor, shit talking, so but now I've got people reaching out like, how can I do this? I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll be part of this to where I bring to this guy, work with them, kind of guide them on the marketing strategy. Like we've talked about it, and putting something together where other people have an opportunity to get a show. Now that I have an in with them, but they approached to me, and now I'm trying to create an in where I can help other people. Because right now everyone's on strike. They need shows. So I'm looking for, there's an opportunity where people can come through me and kind of, I can help be an executive producer now that I've been doing this for about 6 months, and help push it along to get them a show, and whatever takes off, takes off.
So that's exciting. I'm sure there's a lot of people, right? Guys like the me's of the world, right? That are, I look at, there's always people that have done what you've done, and how did they get there? Right. From the podcast to the book, to the speaking stage, to TEDx, right? People have come before me on all that stuff. Each
layer is harder too, Steve. Like each layer is harder. And I didn't ask for a show. Like they approached me, which was cool. But now I'm like, fuck, I should have done this a long time ago. Yeah. And I've had people reach out, like even people that mentor me and coach me, like, dude, how the fuck did you get a show? And I'm like, I don't know, but I've got an in to get you a show, asshole. If you want to get me involved and throw me a little coin. So you better be grateful, right? So, but that's what it takes. Like, how did the Chrisleys get a show? I hate that they're in jail. They were fucking nobody and they got a show. Yeah. How did Honey Boo Boo get a show? Like, it's all timing and people that but it's got to be entertaining, and you got to have a hook. And my hook is really the family's chaotic, and I'm this entrepreneur who lost $1 billion company, $400 million, and now I'm building a fourth and fifth company that are successful. That's somewhat of a hook, but I'm making up for it because I've got a chaotic family and a cute 4-year-old granddaughter that just steals everyone's attention. Right. So you got to have those, and you got to be ready for it. Because I will tell you what's going on right now with the show. Everyone locally knows about the show. It's all over social media. It's been on some news stations. I think we might even put some billboards out. My kids are getting fucking bullied because of it. Like my son today went to a new school. He's going to private school. They're giving him shit about the show. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna put him in this public school. He knows all the kids. He plays football. Older kids are coming up to him. Yeah, they're messing with him. He's like, Dad, like it's a struggle. But then it's like, all right, look, I cannot not do the show because kids are bullying him that are jealous. Like, we're going to have to figure this out. Yeah. He's 13. He's not fucking 6. And he's not a girl. Not that I'm trying to be sexist, but if it were my girls, I'd probably care more. My 19-year-old deals with some of it. My 16-year-old deals with some of it, but they're able to navigate it. My 24-year-old wants to be on TV so bad it ain't even funny. And she should be. So you get a different dynamic, and it's like, my wife was like anti this. Now she loves it. Fuck, she's better than me. She comes in here and steals my podcast. I'm on a show, and she's like, let me get on the show with you. I'm like,
you created a monster. You created a monster.
I did 300 episodes. She watched 0. I've done 15 episodes of Unleashed. She's been on 4 of them.
Wow.
So it happens.
Yeah, it's there, right? Like you said, timing is everything, right?
Everything.
From my business to everywhere. It's how is that timing working, right? John and I have talked about this many times. I wanted nothing to do with the podcast. Last year, I was on 20 podcasts as a guest. And people kept saying, why don't you put on a podcast? I wanted nothing to do with it. And it really came down to, because of the book that's coming out, it's got the same title, Weeding Through the BS, from idea to the book's idea to acquisition. But it's so much of it came off of the timing. Not that I wanted to. So last thing, Jayson, man, I had phenomenal time with you today, right? It's always hearing you speak from, the time that, on the Future Influencer to your TED Talk that you were there. I've always enjoyed it, right? Because
I appreciate that.
I love a success story. And I look at it like this: is I came from nothing. Right. And my mother was there, very close with my mom to this day. My wife says too much a little bit, right? That I'm a big mama's boy, but I didn't come with a silver spoon. So to watch somebody like you that built it, right? Per what you said, right? I lived in a trailer house. we didn't have a lot of money growing up. To where you're at, you've worked hard for that.
Yeah.
I love those stories, right?
Appreciate that.
Person that has a, you know, I won't say who, right? But I was reading an article recently, right? And it's a, you know, owns a sports team, right? Parents made a ton of money out there. So he owns a sports team. And now they're saying, you know, his players are saying, you should sell this, right? You're not a good business person. And it's those people that come in with all this money and they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Right. Or they come in and say, I got a fraternity brother, right? That I went to college. His dad was uber successful. So this came in, he didn't have to do anything. And he came in, right, and kind of rode the business. Now he's posting all over social media that, oh, here's how do I get a pilot for my private jet? I built this business. It's like, no, you didn't build shit. Yeah. You didn't build anything. Your dad built it. You walked in and took it over. Didn't do anything different. You're a success story. And I love seeing that, Jayson. You know, I love the attitude. We all know, right, when we're that positive, right, sometimes people can't take the truth that's out there. But listen, you've built it. You've done it. I applaud you. Excited. But we're going to end like we always end on weeding through the BS, the two truths and a lie, right? I think this is going to be a tough one, right? Because you're a bullshitter like us. So I want you to give us 2 truths, 1 lie.
Okay.
You have to choose. John's up on me, I think, by 1 or 2 right now.
Yeah, that's close.
You know, it's close. But so Jayson, we're gonna end with that. Give us the 2 truths and a lie.
Okay. So I've met Joe Rogan. I've done a commercial with Barry Sanders. I've pet a shark in Hawaii.
You have not pet a shark in Hawaii, Steve.
Man, I think he's a traveler. I think he's a go-getter. I think he'd swim with the sharks. I think he's done that. You're from Michigan, and I know you're excited right now about the Detroit Lions and everything. Oh man, I think that. What was the first one again?
First one was I have
met Joe Rogan. I don't think you've met Joe Rogan, even though I think you've been out there, top 5 podcasts, probably met him, but.
So that's the lie. I have not met Joe Rogan. I've done 2 commercials with Barry Sanders, and I have pet a shark in Hawaii.
You said you said football a lot, and I remember you talking about the Lions that you've done stuff. So all right, John, I caught up on you. So again, Jayson, thank you for being on Weeding Through the BS. We're excited about the show, the BamFam show. I'm excited to watch that.
Appreciate
something that. I'll probably watch with my wife. We like different kind of TV shows, so I'm excited about that.
This will have a good blend for sure.
Yeah.
Next time I want to learn about the aliens behind you.
But by the way, this is, just so you know, that's Zara with an X, and the cousin is Zog, which right there.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And the reason that and this is a real skull from a buffalo that has skulls carved out on it, and then has like these diamond things. But I'm real big into aliens now. I don't know why. Like, I've just have an addiction now. Like, after all this happened, the weirdest thing, like, I just read, eat, sleep, shit, aliens. Like, my son's like, what is wrong with you? He watches it too, but I'm all into it.
So aliens are real. Area 51's real?
1,000% they're real, dude. Like 1,000%. I joke around about these guys, and I got to say they identify as aliens because they don't not her, nothing. They're just aliens. But they don't have any, you can see there's no genitals.
Yeah, a little skeptical.
But the joke is with one of the guys here I have on the podcast. He's really funny. He should be a comedian, but works for me. He comes in here, and it's an alien exchange program. So 2 assholes get sucked up. We don't know they're missing, and these guys come down, and so I conversate with them. But it's kind of like waves of, like, when you're sending pictures and you can't see it. When I talk to them, you guys can't hear it. I can. So I chat with them about stuff. That's like the ongoing joke. But these things are fucking expensive. Right. But they're cool. When you come into my studio, it's like, we got to talk aliens. And I'm a big believer. This is my belief, that aliens are so real that they're actually the angels of God. Look up Dolores Cannon. She says that God has all the angels which came down as aliens and planted seeds. And if you go through every time of humanity, the Egyptians, the Aztecs, all of them have a god that they praise that came from the sky. She's saying that's one of the aliens that came in and educated and helped them along. But this is a free will world, so they can't do anything. They can just guide and give guidance, but they still have to make their own decisions and then leave. And so when you think about that, I almost feel like a second to them is like a million years to us. So they come, those spirits, those aliens come down and see us, what's going on. And it could be us in the future checking it out. Those are my beliefs. I mean, it's fucking crazy, but to me, that makes more sense than, and I believe in God, but that makes more sense than all the other shit out there that's manipulated by humanity. Like I think
we got a great follow-up podcast, Steve.
Well, we might have to get a new one. Just only talk about aliens.
We'll talk about that and conspiracy theories, Jayson.
Well, I don't believe in conspiracy theories, but I believe in fucking aliens.
Oh,
okay. Oh, John, you were just trying to put your stuff.
Well, if you got aliens,
your conspiracy theory.
I kind of just.
You were hoping
aliens. Yeah, exactly.
I don't think those guys are going to testify. I don't think those guys are going to perjure themselves and testify that the shit's real. I just don't. Right? I just don't.
Some of them have been saying more stuff. Even recently, you've been seeing more stuff on it. But yeah, you're right. I mean, they're not going to go fully on the record. Jayson, you are the man. Thanks a lot.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. This was fun.
Good to see you again, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, guys. God bless. Be good. Bye.
Same.